I'm your favorite rock boy, black boy, school of hard knock boy, 360-degree, man, I'm such a hot boy, D-boy, B-boy, you're 313 boy, no decoy, soldier of fortune, I seek and destroy, deploy, street noise that move your feet, boy, nobody iller than boy, from Hanoi to Illinois, power to pump up through your bins, boys, the envoy, I keep this moving like this a convoy.
See, I'm the truth, it's apparent and I flare it, I dare you to stare, because I'm semi-truck arrogant.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show, episode 7 of the Nacho Avg podcast. I cannot thank you enough for being here. We have a great show tonight. I have a special guest in Giyohnly1. But yeah, it is July 7th. No, not 17th, 14th. Man, I'm ahead of myself. I'm ready to start the weekend. So, what is up? Maddie Blackstock, hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming through. I don't know how everybody else's week has been going, how their weekend was prior, but I just want to say I finally got to feel a little bit of normalcy this past weekend. I don't know who else out there is a Marvel Comics, Marvel Cinematic Universe fan. I myself am one. I finally felt some normalcy with the release of Black Widow and taking my big ass to the theater and getting to watch it. Feet up, big old pot of popcorn, got my Slurpee in my other hand, and I was just in heaven. And I tell you what, the movie was great. I think it would have been better if I didn't have to sit and wait an extra year due to COVID in order to watch it. What's up, Christina? Red, what's up, buddy? Hey, how are you? So it was just a feat of normalcy to go to the theater, sit down, and like myself, I always do, I sit in the very last row, middle seat, center of the theater, and as I'm sitting there and I'm waiting, and of course, you know, as we have to with most of our theaters here, we have to reserve our seats because most of our theaters here now in Michigan are all of the recliners. So I reserved my seat. When I had reserved my seat, there was literally only one person ahead of me who purchased their ticket. I reserved mine behind them. I was in the last row. I get there. That's the only other man in the entire theater. And it was like a ghost town. There was nobody to the left of me, nobody to the right. So basically, I got to spread out, be in heaven, watch my movie. And I'll tell you what, it was amazing to feel back to normal, going out, watching this movie. Again, I think it would have been better if it had come out last year, but unfortunately, I know due to COVID, we weren't able to get such a luxury. But again, the movie was excellent. So if you haven't had a chance to, I'm not going to give any spoilers. Go check out Black Widow. It's on Disney Plus. So if you have a subscription to that, you don't even have to go to the theater. You can sit at home and enjoy the cinematic adventure by yourself, with family, or whoever you choose. So other than that, life has been going good. I'm trying to enjoy the summer vacation, living life to the fullest as much as I can. Been hanging out with my son every single day, going on adventures with him, Maddie, that is a definite plus, is seeing people, not even seeing people, is seeing their face. And that's something I'm going to touch on later on in the show, talking about seeing faces and wearing masks. Because I have a question for our guest in regards to that and where he resides. Because I read a little article the other day on something that's going on there. But it is a beautiful thing to see people interacting with people. Like I said, going back to normalcy. And it's a beautiful thing that to be able to do these things again, even though I understand there was a necessity of why we couldn't, it's nice to be back to, like I said, quote unquote, normal. There's a story I want to get on, and I wasn't really going to talk about anything much. I was going to bring our guest on right away, but I was scrolling through TikTok earlier today, and I seen an unfortunate bit of information that kind of just struck me. So I kind of deep dived into it a little bit and inquired and tried to find some information on it. So back in October of last year, The exact date, I believe, is October 5th, 2020, something like that. Long story short, there was the unfortunate discovery by police in a small town of Kearney, New Jersey, I believe. They discovered the body of an infant inside of the trash, and apparently nothing has come of this investigation that's been going on. From what I've been reading, there has been, for the last 8 months, almost, they've been struggling to get an autopsy done. Apparently the prosecutor, just as of last week, I believe last Friday, wrote a letter to the citizens of Kearney, basically stating that they understand that there is an uproar in this matter of why, and that the city wants to know what's going on. They want justice for this child, and that they're asking for patience, because that the death of a child carries a special significance, especially when it comes to an investigation piece. It was October 25th, 2020 was the exact date that this child was discovered. But even as of today, there have been no charges. Nobody's been taken in to custody, so on and so forth. And as of this past Sunday, there was a candlelight vigil for young baby Matthew, again, who is no longer with us due to, we don't know why. And that's what's super unfortunate about that, is that we don't know why, and we're not sure when we're going to know why or what happened to baby Matthew. Because I guess even within the last 8 months, there has been no information provided. Apparently the autopsy is quote unquote complete, but it has not been released. The information has not been released publicly yet. The child's remains have been passed back to the family. They have been able to provide a ceremony and lay the baby to rest. But the kicker that I don't get is that the trash in which that this child's body was found was outside of the family's home. So where I don't understand is to me, this whole situation has a very Casey Anthony feel to it. I mean, I know it's not the same parameters or situation, but shit's not adding up the way I've been reading it. Again, no charges have been announced for the infant's family. Again, I've posted a QR code. So if you guys want to go ahead and scan that, that is for a petition that is going around right now. If you would like to sign it in order to hopefully amplify the concern and want for information for to figure out what happened to this child. Even since then, last August in Hackensack, New Jersey, there was a situation where a woman went full term with her pregnancy, hid it from her family the entire time, I guess, had the baby, hid the baby inside of a hamper full of clothes until it was deceased, and then disposed of the body. And she's been charged and is already serving time. Again, something doesn't add up with this one. Through my investigation today, it's looking like apparently this family is friends with the mayor of the city. So, and I apparently in the interview process, they said that they interviewed the mayor, and the mayor stated that he felt that this vigil that took place this past Sunday wasn't to benefit or do anything for the child, but was to attack the family. It's hard for me to say because I don't live in that community. But personally, if something like that happened in my community, I think a lot more would have been done. Kearney itself, from when I looked up, has a population of just over 40,000. I myself live in a suburb of Detroit that has almost 140,000. and I know something would have happened and we would have heard about it and it would have gotten taken care of. So why is it that in small town USA, nothing is getting done? So if everybody could, if you are wanting to help with the cause, please go right ahead and scan the QR code. Or what you can do, if you do not want to scan the QR code or not able to, you guys can go to https://tinyurl.com, baby Matthew NJ, and sign the petition if you would like. It would be greatly appreciated for those who are trying to get some information on what happened to this baby. I don't understand how people can do things like that and just let it blow by. I don't understand either, Kimberly. And again, that's where I don't understand what's going on. Because to me, what is there to investigate? Because even in my eyes, in my background of criminal justice, of being a correctional officer before becoming a teacher, like, unfortunately, the U.S. judicial system is all about a conviction rate. They're going to be able to convict somebody in that household. So why is it that you can't figure out who or whom or whose or whom's to hold responsible, especially if apparently the autopsy is complete, but it's not being released to the public? And what is taking so long for it to be released to the public? That I will never know. I don't know. But again, if more information is out there, you got to do a little bit of deep diving when you're if you're going to do some research on this. But the petition is right there in the QR code again, or you can go to tinyurl.com/baby Matthew NJ, N as in Nancy, N as in Nancy. I'll put that up on screen one last time. So that's all I really want to talk about that. It kind of doesn't sit right with me, and I don't know why it's, some people would just think that's okay to allow to happen. So, but you know what, with that in mind, it kind of correlates with my guest. And my guest that I have tonight is the one and only Giyohnly1. And if you haven't seen this gentleman, I suggest you go and follow him ASAP. And his thing that caught me is that he's always talking about things that are going on in today's world. I mean, like to the T today, like things are going on, he's talking about it. And he is very, very vocal, very exclamatory. And he wants you to know that shit is getting weird. And he wants to let you know about it. And if you're not sure what's going on, he always provides you with that information. I'm going to go ahead and bring him on. We're going to go ahead and let him tell you his backstory. There's a lot to this man, but from just speaking to him and even from what the reading that I've done and the information he's provided me, he is one of the easiest going men I've ever spoke to. And we're here to have a good time. So let me go ahead and bring the one, the only Giyo on. Let me go ahead and make sure you're
man.
What is up, Giyo? I appreciate you.
No, how you doing?
I am fantastic. And yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good.
I know it's quite early where you're at. It's about 6:15 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So
still early in this part of the U.S.
Oh yeah, trust me. When we conclude the show tonight, my things I'm gonna be. I'm going to bed. You're probably like, okay, well, I got a couple hours left. So.
I'm like, I got to go take this guy for a walk. So.
But yeah, so just before we go ahead and get started, everybody, so if you want to go ahead and follow Giyo, above Giyo's head, there is the QR code to follow him on his social media. Oh, see, you already got a fan here. You've already got a fan here.
Dope. Appreciate y'all.
So, yeah, so go ahead and Giyohnly1, and that is on TikTok and Instagram. Let me go ahead and throw that up for you, Giyohnly1. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Giyo. So the Giyohnly1, my username there, that's my name is in there. I just kind of made it into what I wanted to there. Name's Giyo, 33 years old, originally from West Africa. I was born in Cameroon, and I moved to the U.S. when I was like 4 or 5 years old. Lived in California pretty much my whole life. What else? I played professional basketball for like about 10 years, and then COVID kind of shut that down a little bit. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, I don't know what else you want to know.
Well, I mean, I mean, I imagine you moved here with your family, correct?
Yeah.
Now, what brought your family here to the U.S.?
So my dad came first. My dad came first for school. He got a scholarship to come to University of San Diego, SDSU.
Okay.
He came down here and he studied for a year, and then he brought us over. So we came over after, like in 1992.
Wow.
So yeah, we just better opportunity, education. You know, in Africa, it's big. That's what it's big on education, big on opportunity. So a lot of Africans will go to either Europe or they come to the U.S.
Wow.
For opportunity.
All right. And you said you had played basketball. So what developed so let's go ahead and start way back. What got you into basketball? Like who was your favorite player growing up? What got you intrigued with basketball? Where did you go to school to play?
So I actually started playing soccer first. So I grew up playing soccer. Yeah. I know it's like, I didn't play basketball until I was 13. So I started really, really late, extremely late. So I played soccer growing up, you know, because in Cameroon, soccer is a big deal over there. My dad was like a big soccer fan. And then I don't know, I guess I got kind of bored of soccer. Picked up a basketball in 8th grade, and I didn't even know who Michael Jordan was, like initially. I know. I had no idea who Jordan was initially because I was so focused on soccer.
Okay.
And then once I found out who Michael Jordan was and I watched all the highlight stuff, Jordan made me like fall in love with basketball, like fall in love with like just like watching and how like exciting it is. And then growing up I watched Kobe a lot. I never got to see Jordan play, but like Kobe was on TV all the time.
Well, yeah.
So I watched Kobe play, and Kobe's the one my game is kind of imitated after Kobe. So
so you got that Mamba mentality.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, hell yeah. I take that to heart. I take Mamba mentality to heart.
You can say shit. It's okay. Go ahead and drop it, man.
I say shit. All right, cool.
Oh, you can say whatever you want.
I take that shit to heart.
There you go.
So, because Kobe was my favorite growing up. What else? I went to Cal State University in Los Angeles, played there for a bit, and then after that, I started playing professional, bounced around in different countries, and yeah.
Out of all the countries that you played in, which one was your favorite?
Favorite in terms of what, though? That's what I always ask everybody. Favorite in terms of what? Okay,
well, I guess what was your favorite in terms of food?
Peru. Like when I was in Peru, when Peru had their league going on there, the Peruvian food is like no other, man, like no other. Have you ever had Peruvian food?
No, I mean I know it looks like I haven't missed a meal, but no, I have not had Peruvian food.
No, Peruvian food is delicious. I recommend everybody try some Peruvian food. Yeah, food wise, definitely Peru. I got to think of the first place I played first was Japan. I like Japan a lot. Japan is I'm not a big fish eater. I don't really eat a lot of fish. Okay. So Japan is predominantly fish. Peru too, but Peru had some other good stuff that I could eat. But Japan was a little different as far as like food wise. Like food wise, it was tough. Japan was tough. It was tough. We had to do grocery shopping and kind of make our own foods and stuff.
It almost sounds like you were almost in a lockdown that you had to like figure out take. What was the show? Chopped, that you had to take, these 6 random ingredients and figure out a decent meal out of it.
Yeah, basically. I mean, basically, because let's say we would go out to restaurants and eat out and stuff like that. But I mean, even while playing professional basketball, you won't go out and eat every single night. Like the team will give you meals and like per diem and stuff so you can eat. Mm-hmm. But we would have our apartments, and sometimes you just want like a home cooked meal. So you would make stuff at home. So we made friends with a U.S. Navy person, basically. So they would let us on the base. They would let us on the base to do grocery shopping because everything is so much cheaper on the base. If you go and like shopping, around town, so much more expensive. And they don't really have they didn't have chicken really, not really, in the stores. So we would go on the Navy base and they would let us shop in the Navy base and stuff, that was cool. That was cool of them.
That's real awesome. We have a National Guard base not too far from where I live, and one of my former coworkers, when I was a correctional officer at the jail, whenever he'd have to report for duty, he'd be like, "Hey, so what you need? I can go get it for super cheap. Just let me know." So a bunch of us would give him like a big shopping list, and then yeah, you know what, Rich, you caught me. I do. I love the semen. So food you said was Peru. Japan was the first place you played. So in terms of nightlife, because let's be honest, as it's portrayed throughout the world, that most basketball players enjoy a good nightlife. So
yeah,
where did you play that had the best nightlife?
Oh, I might have to say Japan.
Really?
I might have to say Japan because so I played in a city called Yokohama. So next to Yokohama was Tokyo. So Tokyo was literally up all night. There's a place called Shibuya. It was up all night, never shut down. So I would have to say Japan. And they had their little spots. Like they had like the hip hop area where you would go. Like if you're looking for hip hop music, you have to go to a specific area for that. It's not just in any club. You have to go to a specific area for that and hang out there. But yeah, I'd probably say Japan. You could be out all night, really, if you really wanted to.
Nice.
There's times that we stayed out to like we had practice the next day like at 8, 9 a.m. We stay out to like 5. Not necessarily because we wanted to, is because the train system, like if you take the train in Japan,
yeah,
the train runs and goes. The bullet trains are fantastic, right? They go, they'll take you to Shibuya or to Tokyo in like, I don't know, 30 minutes or something like that. To take you down. And then, but they stop running at 11. So you have to wait until the next morning at 5 just to catch the train coming back.
So basically you were stuck between a rock and a hard place, out having a good time, and then it's like, oh shit. I guess we're not done partying then.
Basically. So we knew, like, every time we went out, we kind of knew. We're like, all right, we're going out. If we go out, we're going out. It's because we can't come back. We can if we take like a taxi, which will cost us like damn near $80 just to get back, $100 just to get back.
Oh, I just recently traveled to Long Island, New York, and one of the selling points of why I got a rental car was because it was cheaper for me to get a rental car for 4 days than it was for me to pay for 2 Ubers just to get to my destination and back to the airport. It was like, and then I still had free range of going wherever I wanted. So I can't pay that much. So, all right. Well, so nightlife, food, that's about, that's to me, that's about the only thing that would interest me. I mean, shit.
Money wise, money is the money's the other factor as well.
Okay, so
money wise, I'd probably say when I played in Qatar, in the Middle East, that was probably the best. Other than that,
here's a question for you. Now, did you play with anybody who happened to come from overseas and now is in the league?
Not with, but I played against some guys, but I cannot remember their names. Okay. I played with one person in Japan. His name was Justin Burrell. He got picked up to play on the Warriors back then. That was 2011.
Okay.
2011, 2012, I think. So he had got picked up to play for the Warriors, but they waived him for whatever reason. I don't know why they waived him. He was amazing. He was really good. He was the MVP of our league that year that we played together. So probably him. There's some other guys. I don't remember their names. And there were some guys that played in the NBA, but they were done with the NBA. Like the NBA didn't want them anymore, in a sense.
So,
like you get
so they came over across seas.
So they went overseas, and there's a couple guys that played in our league from there. I just don't remember their names too well.
Cool.
But
at that point, it's just even playing around the world, even the fact that you have the ability to say that you played a professional sport, like there are numerous millions and millions of children who want to have that goal and aspiration. It's one of the things that I wish I could have been able to do, but it wouldn't have been basketball. I was the high school team manager. That was about as good as I got. I made sure the water was full. I made sure the balls were ready. But football was my thing. And it was just, growing up, nobody in my family played football. Like my father didn't play football. Nobody on my dad's side of the family played football. My grandfather on my mom's side played, but none of my uncles played. So I was like, it skipped almost a whole generation. It came to me. Yeah. So like it was my life, and it was just unfortunate that it didn't pan out. But everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
So we do have a question. Did you ever have a scout looking at you or try out for the NBA?
So when I left college, I had an agent at the time, and we went to some sort of camp / like open gym thing. I don't remember what it was called back then, but they had a bunch of at the time it was called the D League. So they had a bunch of D League coaches at that workout, and the Bakersfield Jam wanted me to come up. So I went up there, and so the Bakersfield Jam is the D League, the G League team, or D League, whatever, the team that's connected with the Clippers and Lakers, I believe. I think it was Clippers at the time. I think they're connected now to somebody else. But so they wanted me to come to training camp, but they didn't want to pay for training camp. So that was like the closest where I could like go to the D League and then possibly go to the NBA. And they didn't want to pay for training camp, and that rubbed me the wrong way because I knew right away, like coming out of college, I was like, yeah, this is a business. This is not like, you know what I'm saying? This isn't, we're not playing for fun. Like, this is a business. Like, of course I want to play basketball, but at the end of the day, I want to make money as well. And and even just paying for training camp, that was, to me, that I was just more of like, if you guys don't want to pay for training camp and I get injured and I have to pay all my own medical bills, I'm like, it seemed very weird to me. So I was just like, you know what? We had an offer to go to Japan, so me and my agent were just like, let's go to Japan, and if it comes around, we'll go. But I ended up bouncing around playing overseas all these years. So,
well, I mean, are you at all? And I hate to use the word disappointed that it didn't work out and that you ended up overseas, or?
No, because I had a lot of new experiences overseas, and like I speak fluent Spanish, and I would have never learned Spanish if I wouldn't have played overseas. So it all kind of like, I look at it like it was supposed to happen the way it happened. Of course, I would have loved to play in the NBA, but I kind of look at my journey and I say, okay, I didn't start till 13. I played the post position in high school because I was just taller and more athletic than everybody else. And I was like 6'2". I was like, okay. And then I got to college, and before I got to college, they were like, yeah, you have to be a point guard. And I was like, I had to learn a whole new position, like from summer going into college. I learned a whole new position. So the way it kind of happened, luckily I bloomed and I grew pretty fast. And the fact that I even got that close I was like, it was amazing. I never thought I'd be able to play professional basketball. I just thought, I was like, oh, cool, go play college and I'll be done. And the fact that I was able to play. So no, I don't know. I look at it as a blessing. It's a blessing to be able to do that and stuff like that.
That's definitely what I would definitely say, because you definitely, and even the aspect, and I'm going to relate it back to when playing football. I mean, when I was in high school, I was the best of the best. So that's why I was, all conference, this, that, and the other. Then you get to college, and everybody there is now the best of the best. Exactly. And you were able to take it even a step further to play in another league that was professional, and you got paid to do what you love. Yeah. Even though it was considered a job, and like you said, you realize real quick, especially through that G League experience, that it's a business. Yeah. It's not just, going and playing and trying to make a name for yourself. Is now you have the name, is now upholding that name and trying to make it worth somebody else's while, so that way they can reciprocate with funds and money and so on and so forth. Exactly. Well, that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. My next question was, but you kind of just let the cat out of the bag, was how did you learn to speak fluent Spanish?
Yeah, so I was playing in South America for a little bit. I picked it up when I was playing in Peru. I picked it up, and it's funny. I failed it in high school. I failed it in college, and then I picked it up when I was living in South America for like the first 8 months, and I picked it up, and I was like, I got home, and my mom was like, "Wait, you speak Spanish?" And I was like, "See," I was like, "Yeah." It was the weirdest thing, It was till this day I still don't even understand how I can speak it the way I speak it. It's the weirdest thing. So weird.
It's one of those situations probably like where you weren't really forced at that point to learn the language.
Yeah.
You know, in school where you have to meet certain criteria and, you know, pass certain parameters. There, it was just you learn the language naturally. I am going to assume, because especially you said the Peruvian food was the best.
Yeah.
You probably learned it through reading the menus and hearing what people, you know, their enunciation, so on and so forth. So when you got that one meal that you really enjoyed, you're like, okay, I got to remember that. And then it stuck. And then you hear somebody, you know, use it in a sentence, so on and so forth. Honestly, the only thing I can remember to this day is Donde estás la biblioteca? That is it. That is literally the only thing I can remember from high school Spanish. And we got to all choose our own Spanish names, and I chose Pedro.
Pedro.
And it was all because of the movie Varsity Blues. Because I don't know if you've ever seen the movie where he rattles off all the nicknames for a penis or an erection. And the last one is Pedro. And I said, that's my Spanish name for class.
That's funny.
So yeah, Peruvian. Now, have you ever dabbled or began to learn any of the other languages that you came in contact with overseas?
So when I initially came here from Africa, West Africa, they predominantly speak French over there. So I spoke French fluently when I got here, and then learning English, I lost it. Like, my parents kind of stopped speaking it to me because they wanted me to learn English and like kind of fit in a sense here. So I lost French. Japanese, I picked up words, but I don't know how to connect them. I have no idea. Like Spanish, with Spanish, I picked up words first. So I would always just say words with spaces in between because I never knew how to connect it. Japanese is the same way. I never knew how to connect the words. So it was hard. That was hard. Writing it, I didn't even try. Writing it was so difficult.
Are you able to fluently write in Spanish as well?
Yeah, I can write in Spanish. I can read Spanish. I'm telling you, it's the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. Wow. Like learning that is the weirdest thing.
So one of the things I asked you, and we're going to go ahead and I'm going to, put your handles up again, so you said COVID is the reason, unfortunately, that you had to kind of stop playing basketball at this time. You did mention you just recently got married, so congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Also happy belated birthday to your wife.
Thank you. Well, I guess she should say thank you.
So what got you into TikTok? Was it the trying to replace basketball? Was it boredom? What was it?
I mean, because I would always my wife would always show me TikToks, and I would laugh at them because they're funny. And I was the guy that always was like, oh, TikTok's for kids. They're just dancing on there. Like, yeah, put your hands up, because I feel like a lot of people were like that in the beginning. Like, I didn't understand that TikTok has like little pockets for different type of content. I didn't understand that. I just thought it was just a bunch of kids dancing and stuff like that. So I was like, I don't want to be on there. I like watching the funny videos because I like to laugh and I like making people laugh and stuff like that. But what got me to start actually like making the videos and that whole series and stuff like that was the COVID stuff. Because we were in lockdown, and I remember I don't remember who called me. Somebody called me, and they were talking to me about like their job. And how their job was trying to force them, or like not force them, but they were like, at the time they were saying it then, basically saying like, hey, in the future when the vaccine gets here, we might require you to, we're not saying you have to, but we might require you to get the vaccine. And if you don't, then you might lose your job. It was kind of like they had sent her an email and like a letter, and it was kind of saying that. It was never specifically saying like, hey, we're going to fire you if you don't take the vaccine. It was kind of like, hey, the vaccine's coming, and possibly
we highly suggest you do this.
Yeah.
Not like
we highly suggest that you, it would be highly appreciated. If you don't, you may or may not have a job. Basically, that's what they were saying. And I thought that was so weird. I was like, that's weird. So, and then that's kind of how the whole like TikTok thing started, just from that video I made talking about, like I always look back. I always think about that first video is what was I doing? I made like a skit basically saying like, oh, of the person of the owner or the owner of the business or whatever coming in and saying, hey, hey, we might need you to take the vaccine or whatever the case may be, and if you don't, you may not have a job. And then I was like, all right, let me talk with my family, and I left and I came back in the room and they basically had like a contract saying, are you ready to sign your life away, kind of deal. And yeah, that's kind of how it all started. And then from there, I just started to see how things were getting weird. Like with the coronavirus stuff made everything weird, like everything. It opened people's eyes to a lot of things. It uprooted a lot of stuff that you didn't even know was there. So that's kind of where the shit's getting weird. That's kind of how it came from.
I really love the and appreciate how you, without fail, everything is part infinity, because you never know what's going to end. It's never going to end. It's just going to be a continuous shit show, per se. So that's how you got to start it. And like myself, that was one of the things is I started out in COVID, stuck at home with my kid, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh, I can, sitting here scrolling through them. My local news channels always talking about TikTok and how you got to watch it. And I'm like, oh, and I'm enjoying it and so on and so forth. And then finally one day it was like, oh, I could recreate that. And it was a random tattoo one. And I got quite a few tattoos, and I was just like, and I did it, and it was terrible. And I'm just like, okay. And I just had fun with it and I enjoyed it. And, but when you yourself have found your niche and have just blown up from it, and as of, I think right before we started the show, you're closely approaching 800,000 followers. That's tremendous. Like
kind of crazy.
That, I mean, and like you said, you just started in January. I've been doing this over a year, so I'm gonna have to start looking really closely at what you're doing, so maybe I can get some tips or tricks to try and blow up. But keep doing what you're doing, because what you're doing is awesome. And
thanks, man.
One of the things that I kind of find is weird, and the reason I find it's weird because it correlates in relation to me, and I know we didn't get a chance to talk about this before the pre-show. So the state of California, there is a rules that it's going to require their K through 12 students to wear face masks inside the classroom and buildings, or they will be banned from entering the schools.
Wow.
How do you feel about that? Yeah, that is as of July 12th, 2021. Wow.
I mean, so I something else I also do is I train kids in basketball. So I work with kids. So when the pandemic hit and stuff like that, I feel like it took a toll on kids that played sports, especially. Because they were forced to go indoors and stuff like that. So with every time I hear about the stuff with kids, and I'm like, I always look back to the data, and I'm like, the data stated that kids were not likely to, they weren't likely to catch COVID. Like it was really low, like a low likelihood of them catching COVID. So initially they said yes, kids can catch it, and later on they came back and said that that it's the data shows that they can't catch it, and they can't transmit it to adults the way they thought could happen.
Right.
So now the fact that they're saying this, I'm just kind of like, well, why? Like, what's the point? What's the point of them wearing a mask inside? And I'm guessing this is public schools.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
they said they could even adapt more rules on top of the state COVID-19 measures. California's new regulations follow federal guidelines released last week and lets states set guidelines for how school districts to run in the fall amid lingering COVID pandemic. While California is taking a strict approach, the federal recommendation allows states to let vaccinated students return to campus without masks. And that's one of the things that they're talking about with my district, is that everybody's still going to have to wear masks. Nothing about them being rejected and not being allowed to enter the building if they don't want to wear one. But what I don't understand now, especially with what the CDC is saying, is that vaccinated people aren't going to need to wear masks, but vaccinated people are. To me, unfortunately, we're creating almost World War II Holocaust like approach to this situation of where we're marking certain people a certain way and not marking other people another way, and you're creating that divide when we all again need to be coming together. And one of those situations is, and I don't know what your approach is, if you were vaccinated or not, and don't have to admit to anything if you are or you're not. My biggest debacle is, and I'll say it, I myself am vaccinated, is how everybody's approaching the situation of people who choose not to get vaccinated for their own personal reasons as a refusal. And using the word refusal to me is almost a demeaning or derogatory term in that situation, where there might be situations where they can't get the vaccine, or there's something that's going on in their lives. So I don't understand why or how America has come to a point where it's so sad that we have to give all these incentives to ask people to do something when they have that free right of, you're basically buying people's behavior. I hate to say it that way. And that's not how things work. And you're creating a divide, and it's unfortunate. We've already got issues, and you and I discussed it ourselves when it comes to our political parties. There is a giant divide driven down the middle of, Democrat versus Republican. And, I myself will admit, I stand in the middle, and I want to reach out to both sides and see what I can get from both. Not saying that I'm expecting things, but what they're going to provide, what they're saying they're going to do while they're in office, so on and so forth, and then cast my vote based upon what I feel is best in my interest, which that's what I feel it is, but at the same time, everybody has their right to choose. If you want to stay with a singular party, go right ahead. That's, the quote unquote, the American way, the American dream, the ability for, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, your right to choose. How do you feel about all these incentives or bargainings or the basically bribery that's coming along with the vaccination situation?
Yeah, I mean, like me myself. I know you said you were vaccinated. Me myself, I'm not vaccinated yet. So I always say yet because I'm not anti-vax. I just look at it to say, I don't know if I need the vaccine right now because, for example, I had COVID in January. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, well, I had COVID. I recovered from COVID. Why would I need to take the vaccine? Isn't that the best vaccine, is getting the actual virus, not the generated virus, getting the actual virus and then surviving? In my mind, that's kind of how I think. So I'm like, I'm a pretty healthy person, still young. I don't think I need the vaccine right now. Maybe in the future, if more research comes out from everything that's going on now, all of 2021, we get more data, more research of what happened with the vaccine and stuff, then maybe I'll get it. I have no problem. And they're going to make it more and more difficult to not get it as well. It's going to be tough. Now, regarding to the incentives and stuff like that, I don't understand why they're pushing it so hard, why they're incentivizing it so hard. I know a lot of people say public safety, they want people to take it, but I always remind people we don't need 100% herd immunity. So everybody doesn't have to get it. You understand what I'm saying? So, and I look at some of the incentives and I'm like, okay, if we're talking about being alive and being healthy, but you're pushing donuts and you're pushing beer and you're pushing all these other things, I'm just like, that doesn't make sense to me. To my mind, that doesn't make sense because I try to be as healthy as I can be. And I look at, I'm not perfect or nothing like that in the slightest, but I look at it as, okay, if the health organization like the CDC is pushing, hey, we're going to incentivize you to get these donuts, a fried circle. That doesn't resonate in my mind to say, well, that's not healthy. That's not
right.
People have died from eating, not directly from eating a donut right then and there, but just obesity and stuff like that.
Oh, for sure.
And you're pushing that. You're pushing alcohol. You're giving people money. To me, and the way my mind thinks, that's super fishy to me because you could never incentivize me to take something that I don't want to take. So I don't know.
And I can't look down upon it because there were incentives put in place for me getting my vaccine, even through my school district. But one of the three things is, and I guess it's that whole double-edged sword, I was getting it anyways, with or without the incentives. When I was getting it, who knows? Like, so if you said yet, you're not vaccinated yet. One of the reasons I got it is because I took this trip to New York and I didn't know what I could possibly come into contact with there because I'm not in my normal area. Even though I was going to visit a friend, I was going to the unknown for myself because, again, I'm not from there. I didn't know my way around. And I don't know if you've ever been to New York, but I realized real quick when it comes to driving, it's either kill or be killed. Like it doesn't matter. Like,
yeah,
I realized that shit real quick. So, yeah, it's unfortunate that we have to resort to bribery to try and get people to do things when, again, they shouldn't have to be bribed to begin with because it's their own free choice of whether they choose to or not. And it just doesn't sit well with me because, I don't know. Now, I know, how is the unemployment in California? Is it still running high? Because it's still huge here in Michigan.
I haven't looked up the numbers recently. So I don't know exactly. I'm not entirely sure. I know that like during COVID, it was high, extremely high. I mean, almost everybody was on unemployment, basically. Not everybody, but almost. There's a lot of people on unemployment, and they could not handle. California couldn't handle it. There's so much fraud going on, so much stuff going on. Now, I'm not sure. I have to look at the numbers and see because I don't know if they've ended that. Do you know if they've ended the that additional money that you were getting?
Nope, they haven't ended it officially, and I don't think it ends until September-ish. Yeah. But what they've been trying to do here in Michigan is incentivize going back to work, of giving people who recently get a job, and it was within the last 2 months, started 2 months ago, of giving them an extra $300 a pay period until September to go back to work. And it's like, wait a second. So you're going to tell people who, and understand it, don't get me wrong, some people were let go from jobs that was out of their control. Some people left jobs due to COVID, but then didn't go back to work. And they've been receiving this additional funds, where it's to a point here in Michigan, you're getting paid more not to work than you are to go work 40 hours.
Yeah. So
now you're going to tell, I'm going to give you extra money. Well, you've already been making more not doing shit. Now they're going to do something. What about me, who's been working this entire fucking time? Like, I'm not trying to say, the idea of like, hey, I'm over here, I've been doing stuff and I deserve something. But at the same time, like, I was quote unquote like a frontline worker, being a teacher, working in the schools with the kids, other adults, dealing with parents that are coming, I don't know where they've been. And being that I work in the city of Detroit, it's a high poverty area. It's where the highest concentration of COVID was going on. I mean, it was 1 week we're back face to face. The next week we're back out because the numbers are too high. Like, now we're going to start rewarding people for laziness. That's the idea of a participation trophy. And I don't know, being an athlete yourself, how do you feel about participation trophies?
Participation trophies, I don't like them. I don't like them because I look at, like, life isn't fair. Like, it's not supposed to be fair. Like, I don't know. And you know what's funny? I didn't used to think that way when I was growing up. Well, I did, but I would look at it like when I was growing up, I would always ask my mom, it's like, hey, how come people, how come not everybody has money, or how come not everybody is this, and how come we're not all like the same ish? Right. That's what I would always ask my mom. And then as I got older and older and older, and kind of what they taught me and showed me, I was like, oh, that's because life isn't fair. Like, I think life is based off of the decisions that you make, and then what you get out of it comes from those decisions, kind of deal. Whether you make good or bad decisions. So that's what makes life not fair. Now, in regards to like people not going back to work, I'm like in the middle with that one. I'm in the middle because, yeah, I understand that it can be deemed as being lazy, right? It can look as being lazy, but I know people that bust their ass and the business they work for, or the company they work for, doesn't even take them into consideration, type deal. Like, as far as getting a raise or getting paid more, and like living, like, for example, living in California is expensive as hell. living in California is crazy expensive. And especially if you're just working like, a 9-to-5 job type deal, you're working at McDonald's or whatever the case may be, it's extremely expensive. So I don't know. I'm in the middle because I'm like, I feel like the people, like workers, have the, upper hand or the leverage.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000%.
They have the leverage right now to say, hey, dude, I'm making more right now, not going into work than I was going to work. Why would I want to go back? So I understand that sentiment because it's like I go bust my ass 40 hours a week and you guys are paying me scraps. Right now, because of the pandemic, I'm not busting my ass at all, and I'm getting paid more than I am with you. Like, why would I want to go back? Are you kidding me? Like, I understand that sentiment.
Right.
And so it's weird. I don't know what the solution is because it's not raising the minimum wage doesn't solve it. Like, it doesn't exactly solve that issue, although I would love for people to make more money, but what happens with all the other people? Like, if you raise if you raise my $9 an hour or whatever the minimum wage is at the moment, or I don't know where it's different everywhere, but if you raise it, and then what about everybody else? Are you going to raise them too? Because if you're not going to raise them too, then people up here are like, hey, what the fuck?
Right.
Hey, what's going on? Like, great, I want them to be good, but hey, like, I also want to be good as well. Everybody's always looking for their own self
for the piece of the pie. And it's,
exactly.
And again, like I wasn't trying to say that everybody's lazy. Don't get me wrong. Like, I get the idea if they were let go from a company and so on and so forth, especially where it's like, okay, now I'm making more money and I'm not having to risk my life or bust my ass, and I can kind of put my feet up. And this is something, it's almost the break that they're entitled to. But I'm talking about the situations where people themselves who have been collecting unemployment have chosen not to get jobs, and now you're rewarding them, they're making more money, and then now you're trying to incentivize them where they were the lazy one. Don't get me wrong, I understand there are plenty of people in this entire situation that were a victim, to be honest, of COVID and what had taken place, that they do deserve this break. Trust me, I hate to say it, I wish I would have been able to get that part of the pie. Unfortunately, I was in a position where I'm needed on the quote unquote front line, being a frontline worker of a teacher, that I was going back to work no matter what. Or even if I was at home, I mean, I was, I received, quote unquote hazard pay, but even if I was at home, I was still employed. So that's, to me, knock on wood, was the blessing for me, was that I still had a job to go to. So, so you're approaching 800,000 followers on TikTok.
Yeah.
I love the thing that you pointed out, that your screaming is your therapy.
Yeah.
I love that, in screaming to talking common sense to, that it's a therapy, that it's fun, that you enjoy it. Like, I understand a lot of people say, and there's a meme that's going around that I've seen, and I was like, oh yeah, you can go to a therapist, spend thousands of dollars, find out what your problem is, or you can just walk out to your front porch and scream fuck at the top of your lungs and get the same. I'm guessing you're the guy who's out on his front porch yelling fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like, don't get me wrong, like, actual therapy has its place. Like, if you feel like you need to go to therapy, definitely, like, find someone that can help as well. But I feel like even if you go to therapy, you still have to come home and deal with things yourself. And I think the best therapy to me is, number one, talking, like just talking, whether it be talking to people or just talking to, getting on your phone and talking to people through the phone or on the internet or through TikTok, and like yelling and screaming does something. I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's like euphoric in a sense. Like it just helps you get out whatever you're trying, like, helps you get whatever stresses you're feeling, just helps you get it out. Like, I look at it like this too. Like, when I lift weights, I don't do it as much anymore, but when I was in college and stuff, they would always tell us, when you're lifting weights, like, don't don't be quiet. Like you gotta like get it out.
Get that grunt out. Yep.
You got to get the grunt out, because if you get the grunt out, it kind of gives you more power in a sense. To push that weight up. So I look at it like that too. Just they have these rooms. I don't know if they have it where you live, but they have these rooms here in California where you can break stuff. You go there and you can, like, so I think it's like smash rooms or whatever it's called. They give you a bat, they give you some protective gear, and you just like go just break stuff because it's therapeutic in a sense, right? Instead of you breaking stuff around your house, or God forbid, doing some stuff to your family or whatever, you go there and you just break stuff in there. So it's definitely therapy to be able to do that stuff, and I encourage everybody to do that. If you can go and yell and scream a little bit in your house or go in your garage or wherever, do that. If you can't do that, at least just talk, get out whatever you're feeling and talk to people.
Talking, communication is huge, and it's a lost. I hate to call it this. It's lost art, because people are too afraid to talk about things. The thing is you may have to find that person that you can confide in, and it's almost to a point where it won't go past them. You can sit and talk about anything and everything with no judgment. And that's another thing and I hold myself to, I don't like to judge people, because everybody's got things from their past or things that have gone on or in their life that you could, frown or scowl at, so on and so forth, but you don't really know what's going on, why they're dealing with that. And that's one of the things that, when it comes to dealing with adversity and dealing with, students who are emotionally unstable, so on and so forth, one of the things is a lot of these kids, and even a lot of other people, they just want to be heard. They just want somebody to talk to. They just want, even if you could just sit, like you could be having the worst day ever, you're like, you know what, Nacho, let me talk to you for a second. I just sit here and you just lay your heart out on the line, so on and so forth. I could just sit there with a blank stare on my face, and when you're done talking, be like, okay, I'll talk to you later. And that would be it, because you were able to feel that you were heard, get everything off your chest. And all I could have to say at the end is, yeah, man, I understand. Not that I know. I know is one of the most inappropriate words when it comes to conflict resolution, because you don't know. You and I could both get into a car accident. We both could, be driving the same exact car, get hit by the same exact car, so on and so forth. And by me telling you, I know what you went through, I don't.
Yeah.
Because you are dealing with certain things in your life that does not equate to what I'm dealing with in my life. So being able to say that I understand makes a world of difference, especially when it comes to people and trying to get them to feel comfort through therapeutic, because therapeutic rapport is very, very huge, especially when it comes to, like, with myself dealing with students. And I, like you said, dealing with, like you said, you're coaching students, and I'm sure you've dealt with numerous situations where you've had a kid come and, they're to be coached for basketball, and you're looking at him and you can tell something just ain't right.
Yeah.
And you have to, take that time and, pull him to the side, talk to him a little bit, and figure out what is making him tick the way that he's ticking today. So that way it doesn't go tick, tick, tock, boom, and then we got another issue on our hands.
Exactly. No, I agree with that 100%. Yeah. I've definitely had some students like that, where you have to figure out what's going on and resolve the issue, and still have a good session. But I think something you said there, let me see if I can remember what you said there. You touched on something. Damn, I lost my train of thought. You said something regarding, people just want to be heard. Like, people, I think, especially even now, like right now, with what's going on with all the division and stuff like that, and everybody wants to be heard, whether it be, BLM, or whether it be the other, other side, whether it be Republicans, whether it be Democrats, whether it be, LGBTQ plus community, whether it be anything. Everybody just wants to be heard. Everybody wants their subject to be in front in line. I think what I think can help a lot of issues right now is, like you were saying, like empathy, having some empathy, like listening to somebody's issue. And that's something I had to learn too. I didn't have that. I still, even with my wife, I still I have to work on that constantly, because she always tells me, she's like, she would come home one day, she would tell me something, and then me being the person that I am, mama mentality, hey, no excuses, you can do it kind of mentality.
Yep.
She would always tell me, hey, I just want you to just listen. Like, listen. Later, you can interject what you think or how it can possibly be resolved. But right now, just listen to what I'm saying, assess it, and then we could talk about the solution later, kind of deal. And I think that could be. So I have to learn that, and I'm still learning it. But it is a big. I think it's a big thing of what we need right now. It's just of that, and then kind of touching on what you said also about knowing. You were talking about the kid, like a kid comes into practice or school, and then knowing like, oh, they're going through something. How do I address this? I honestly, personally think that whoever we get in leadership in the future needs to have that quality. Like, that's what I'm looking for. If I'm going to support somebody, you have to have that quality in a sense of, if you're going to be a leader, whether you're a Republican or whether you're a Democrat or whatever it is that you are, you got to have that thing where it's like, I know I'm a Republican or whatever the case may be, or a Democrat, but I have to be able to figure out how to deal with this group of people and this group of people and find a way. We don't have to intertwine and love each other, everything like that. We just have to find a way to just be like, all right, we're here now. We're not touching, but we're close enough where we can figure out what the hell's wrong. And I honestly believe whoever is going to be in office in the next 4 years has to have that quality. And if they don't have that quality, to me, it's just going to be the same old story. Same old story.
Along with that, to me, just to touch on like something that I've always found as a great leader aspect, and this was something that I adapted when I was working at the jail, was I want somebody who wants to get into the shit with me. Like, you're willing to get your hands dirty. You're willing to go to battle, so on and so forth. And almost like, you know, if we're about to go to war, I want our leader to be the one to say, okay, give me the same shit. I'm leading this brigade, you know, even though that would never actually happen. But it's just one of those things that it's, like you said, we need to figure out a way that we can speak to both sides, because even like dealing with kids, like you could have two kids that literally come from the same exact household, same exact parents, so on and so forth. But you got to approach them two different ways.
Yeah. It's like coaching. Like, I think one of the best coaches I've ever had, it wasn't about how many plays they could run or how much whatever. It was about that coach knew how to take 15 guys that have different backgrounds, different personalities, different everything, different skills, and get them all to work together towards one common goal. Get them all to, like, you know, to work together towards getting a championship or whatever it may be that we're fighting towards. That to me is like the best leader, best coach. But anybody that I could take 25 people with different personalities, different everything, boiled out to bring them all together and figure out a way how can we work together. Like, I know Jimmy doesn't like being yelled at, so I'm not going to yell at Jimmy. I got to talk to Jimmy constructively, with some constructive criticism, so he can be this is that. You know, Tim or Sarah or whatever. Sarah, I can give Sarah the shits a little bit. I can tell Sarah, hey, what the hell you doing? Get on, you know, get to your shit. I know she can react to that, right? And then there's another person where I really got to rub this person's back, or else they're just going to check out completely. You know what I mean? So whoever can do that has my vote. If they don't know how to do that shit, I may not vote. I don't know. That's what I've been thinking about lately. I may not vote. I don't know, but because I just want people to find a way to come together. We're so on the polar opposites, that it's I don't know. And like you said earlier, people can't speak, people can't talk about stuff because they're scared. Right. But if I say something, somebody's gonna get on my ass. Somebody's gonna say I'm this. Somebody's gonna say I'm that because I said this thing.
And that's another thing with the whole. And here's something I want to bring to your attention, or not to your attention, just pick your brain on. What are your thoughts on cancel culture?
I don't like cancel culture or what it has turned into. Right? Okay. I tell people now I like accountability culture. Like, there's this new thing. I don't know who started it, but it was hashtag accountability culture. I like accountability culture. Cancel culture to me was like, cancel culture to me is if I say something that you don't like, you're gonna try to like cancel me. But like I didn't do anything. I just said something that you don't necessarily rock with. I didn't kill anybody. I didn't push anybody. I didn't, you know, I hurt your feelings a little bit. My bad. I didn't say anything horrible, right? I just said something you don't agree with. So I don't. That's why I don't like cancel culture. Accountability culture, like if you do something wrong, you should definitely be held accountable for it. That's what we teach our kids. I don't understand why adults are any different.
No, I agree. I'm 1,000% on quote unquote owning your shit. It's one of those things. If you do something, and that's what a lot of people don't understand is like, yeah, I'm not saying go commit a crime and say, yeah, I did it, but I'm talking about the idea like if you misspoke and somebody called you out on it and there's no way to beat around the bush. Yeah, I did it. I'm sorry. Like, and we got to keep it moving. But one of the problems with me in cancel culture is when you do try to approach it with the accountability culture piece, people just don't know when to stop. And it's super unfortunate. It's like, well, what else do you want from me? There's nothing more that I can do. And I referenced, there was a TikTok that I made, and it was, now looking back, a little untasteful. And I will admit that, I'm going to touch on that here in a second, Rich, about Stephen A. Smith and what he said in regards to the MLB home run derby. So long story short, I made a TikTok. There is a well-known creator. I think he's over 3 million followers now, but he was approaching 2 million when I made this video where he was of indigenous descent. He did a dance and it transitioned from him in street clothes into his native garb. Really cool video. Well, I stitched it, and it stitches to me looking at my phone, looking up at the sky, looking back at my phone, and then it cuts to a screen saying that it's going to rain. And all I said was, damn, there goes my plans.
And they try to cancel you for that?
So for 2 weeks, I had people of indigenous descent duetting it, saying this is hilarious, so on and so forth, blah, 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 blah. No issues. 2 weeks, like to the day, the original creator of the video duets it with like this dead blank stare of staring into the camera. And all you read across the bottom is, my culture is not your everyday joke. And then all of a sudden, his 2 million followers just blew up my page. You're racist, da-da-da-da-da, so on and so forth. And it's just like, oh, shit, what do I do? Like, because I'm not racist. I made a joke. I get now that it does come back, looks distasteful, so on and so forth. But it wasn't implied that way. It was the joke of, quote unquote, he did a dance. I assumed it was a rain dance because it's raining, so on and so forth. No implementation or words were said that I was being racial towards this person. So in turn, I went and I made an apology video, so on and so forth. I took my video down. I spoke to him directly. He said everything was okay. Still to this day, I'm getting death threats.
Did he take his video down?
Nope.
Oh, that's the thing. So it's like if I come to you and I say, hey, my bad, and we talk it out and you agree like, hey, it's okay, and you don't take your video down, then at that point, then you're still portraying my video. Like you're getting views off of what I created, quote unquote. Yeah. But it is what it is. I mean, it comes with the territory of creating these videos, so on and so forth. And yeah, even Rich, Rich was the one who kind of got me into TikTok. I met him originally when I got on the app. So he made a video, and the sound is still out there of saying 50s music was much more better than today's music, where he took a song. He's like, what 50s music says about, relationships back then. It was like, put your hand on my shoulder, simple 50s tune. And then it cut to, he goes, now what today's music says about relationships. And it goes, hey, yo, bitch, suck my dick. And it was just like, there's a huge disconnect here. Like, how do we go from this to this? And everybody was just on him because him using that song, it was racially motivated and so on and so forth, when it's just like, it had nothing to do with the fact that he was basically speaking about how the lyrics are extremely derogatory compared to what they used to be. Like it makes absolutely no sense. Like to me, that stuff is like, I mean, that stuff is like opinion based. Like that is his opinion on what he thinks about music back then and what music in the future. Like you can't I don't know. That's the stuff that like grinds my gears, because just because you may not like that music, right? So you may not understand the concept of it, of what he's saying or whatever the case may be. Then it's just like, then just leave it alone. Like getting on him and like canceling him doesn't make sense to me. It's an opinion, right? My opinion was that the music that I liked back in the day was awesome versus the music now. I say that still. I love the music and the hip hop and stuff from back in the day. I don't really mess with the music now because it just is not my thing. Not even because of what they're saying. I'm just like, it just sounds like trash. Just being honest, like, you know. So that's opinion based, because it's subjective. I may like the music, but you may not like that music. So,
but you have, but at the end of the day, you have the right to not like that music.
Exactly.
It's opinion based, and guess what? But the where it comes into the issue why are you, and what would drives me nuts too is when you get a race who's being offended for another race, and where the funny part is Rich, Pac and Biggie didn't die from mumble rap. No, they didn't. And we had back when, so before I started this show, Red Rich himself, we had a co-host by name Miss Piper, and we had our Canadian corner Vela. We had a show called The Oddcast, and we had a guest on by BJ Kramer. He's a comedian. He lives in the Texas area, and we were asking him about that sort of situation. Like, how do you feel when it comes to a completely different race being offended for you in your race based upon something? And like you said yourself, how would you feel if somebody said, well, you should be offended by that because you're of African descent, because he's using black people's music, you should be offended by that? How do you feel when people try to tell you that you should be offended by something?
I think it's dumb. It's dumb because, I mean, it sounds dumb because it's like, I'm an individual. You know, what I may find offensive, like, for example, something that I may find offensive in my culture, or something that I don't find offensive in my culture, maybe somebody in my culture finds offensive. But coming to me, I'm an individual. People got to start looking at people as individuals. I am not my entire race. I am not,
right,
or you are not your entire, like, I'm an individual person. So if you come to me and say, hey, how do you feel about this, then a third, I'll give you my perspective, my opinion, which is based off of everything I've gone through in my life. Not necessarily just based off of, oh, you're of African descent, so then you must mean you do this, 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 and this. No, I don't do that, and that. I do this, 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 and those. Like I'm different. So I think it's dumb. I think that's dumb to say, hey, you should be offended by this because of this. But why? Like, why would I be offended by that? I don't think it's that serious.
To me, it makes that person who's trying to tell you that you should be offended even more ignorant. Like,
yeah.
It's not you have no place to tell somebody that they need to be offended by that. That's one of the reasons. And I developed this, especially working in the jail, is like, I can't tell you how many times I got called bald headed ass fat bitch, like every day while I was at work. But it's just like, you should be offended by that. Cause like after a while, that's got to get to you. It's like, no, I am fat. I am bald. I'm probably somebody's bitch somewhere in a different life, but like, it is what it is. Like, a shit don't offend me. Like, and that was like the whole idea of like people always calling me Nacho. Does that bother you? No, it don't bother me. Like, it's a name. So I embraced it. Like,
yeah,
you know, like people would, you know, I have inmates be like, oh yeah, I fucked your old lady. Da, da, da. I'm like, yeah, man, she gives it up to everybody, doesn't she? Like, I'm not going to let that shit bother me. Yeah. And that, you know, it is.
People are just very sensitive nowadays.
And that's what I don't, it's like, pull your panties out of your ass and like, don't be upset about everything. Like, you're upright, you're breathing, be happy. Exactly. Things could always be worse, for sure.
I was always taught if it doesn't apply, let it fly. Like, if it doesn't apply to you, like, why are you? Yeah, why are you tripping?
One of my closest coworkers that I work with now, who worked with me at the jail, that was his main motto when he ran his unit, was if it don't apply, let it fly.
Yeah.
Stay in your own lane, and if it don't apply, let it fly. Those were his biggest two things that he preached to his inmates. And I'll tell you what, I never had an issue with him. And if he ever had to call me to the unit, there was an actual problem.
Yeah.
So, So you've been doing everything. It's going to be wild to see how Gen Z is as an adult.
You know what? You know what I think though. This is what I think. I honestly think that they're all gonna grow up, and they're all gonna figure out like, holy shit, this isn't what I thought. That's honestly what I believe, because I feel like I've seen it before, where I've seen kids. I've seen kids that I grew up with, like the Gen Z people now, and they grew up and they were like, oh shit, they're gonna grow out of all the little bullshit. They're gonna grow as adults, and they're gonna start understanding life. And hopefully, as long as the people still still keep teaching them, just planting seeds. Like, you don't have to change somebody. I don't have to change how a Gen Zer thinks.
Right.
Life will change them on their own. Like, they're gonna understand. They're gonna get to a point where, like, holy crap, like all the stuff I was doing didn't amount to shit.
Their wake up call.
It didn't amount to anything. So
to me, I equate that idea with, and it equals to me of the idea of shaving. Like, growing up, I wanted facial hair. I was a baby face until I was almost 24, and I just started growing facial hair. And then I always wanted it. I was like, and then now, like, I fucking hate shaving. I hate shaving, and I'm bald. So mind you, I'm shaving every other day now. It was like I manifested wanting to be able to shave so hard that I lost all of my hair on the top of my head that I literally have to shave every other day now.
I hear you.
It's terrible. So I think the fear is if we keep catering to the bullshit, then we may never grow up. Hey, you know what? Toys R Us said it best. I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. But so I know I asked you this, and we touched on it. I know you said you're looking to start a podcast yourself.
Yeah.
First and foremost, if you need any help, feel free to reach out. I'm still novice to this, but I will let you pick my brain for anything that I do know to help you along the way, because I think you would be great at it. And I see you want to get into voice acting. Do you want to do commercials? Do you want to do cartoons? Like, and just acting in general? Like, what route do you want to take with that?
I don't have a specific route. I mean, as far as like voice acting, I can manipulate my voice to like different things, different like characters. So I don't have like a specific route. I don't like pigeonholing myself. I like doing it all, even if I mess up at it or whatever the case may be. I like doing it all. So yeah, in regards to like voice acting, anything. Like I think I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were telling me to start off with like the narrating books and stuff like that. I was thinking about starting off doing that, and then just kind of going from there. Anything. As far as like the acting part of it, I like improv. I like improvisational stuff, just like coming off the top of the head and figuring something out as you're going. Like, did you watch that show back in the day? Whose Line Is It Anyways? Religiously. I loved it. Yeah. I used to watch it back before it was hosted by Jim Carrey, when it was only on like Comedy Central and stuff like that. So those were great. I watched like the UK ones. Like, it's that show was awesome, because I like that, the sense of just going out there. They give you a prop, they give you something, figure it out kind of deal. I like that. So I think I want to do improv now, and then if I do eventually or end up like going into the acting portion of it, I don't really care. I don't want to do like, I was approached to do like some reality TV show stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that shit. If I'm gonna get into it, I actually want to get into it and see how I do. To me, the reality TV show is faker than. Oh yeah, super fake. It's just mind blowing. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm a huge fan of the Jersey Shore, because that was like my age range, and they're still my age range right now. But like, it was just, to me, it was like a whole different world, and how like crazy and flamboyant it was. And like, it'd be funny, like, then I'd go out to the bar on the weekend and just see people trying to like recreate that here in Michigan, and it's just like, stop, like, just be yourself. To me, and like you said, like, one of the best things, I think, most prominent things that you point out tonight, is that you are an individual. You are who you are. You are the person you are. There are so many individual characteristics about you that make you Giyo. Same thing of, there's so many individual characteristics that make me Nacho. Like, don't get me wrong, Red Rich, who's been in the comments, is my best friend, and there are numerous things that we don't agree upon. Yeah, but I think that's what builds our relationship
that we are able to have, quote unquote, sake, not have the conflict, but not agree upon everything, but actually be able to see each other's side with, no issue. It's one of those things that people don't want to be individuals. They always want to be everybody else or what somebody else has, or be, the next big thing. And don't get me wrong, everybody has the goals and the aspirations to be the next big thing, but they don't take the right route, and they just think it's going to happen overnight, and they don't want to put in the footwork to do anything. And like you yourself said, like, and to me, it's very much a, I've never seen your side of Reese's Pieces. So anyways, he likes to give me shit. Long story short, here in the Midwest, we say Reese's Pieces and not Reese's Pieces. That's just something we do. Another thing that we do, so the plastic contained popsicles, they're all plastic top to bottom, no stick. We call them freezer pleasers. Like, we have a bunch of random ass words. I don't know what you guys call soda pop out in California. Like, we just call it pop.
Yeah, we call it soda. Yeah,
it's one of those things. And again, that's what makes people up as individuals. Like, it was funny just going to Long Island and all the things that they reference in certain terminology. It's like how distant we are. And that's, to me, that's the divide. I think that us as people that live where we live and do what we do, that should be the divide that we have, is those little intricacies of language. And it's not a language barrier. It's just those little things that make us all unique and different, and so on and so forth. And not, I hate you because you're a Republican, or I hate you because you're a Democrat, and things like that. And I hate you because of the color of your skin, or I hate you because, that's not what we need. We need, like you said, we need to build that bridge. We don't have to walk on the same side of the bridge.
No.
We can walk our own walk. We can talk our own talk. But at the same time, we all need to start moving in the same direction. Not coming to the fork of the road and basically just bitching at each other to say who's going to turn first. Yeah. We all need to start heading in the same direction. So
yeah, that's where we're at right now. Where we're at right now is everybody's at the fork of the road, bitching at each other, when they need to just be like, all right, hold up. Could I possibly be wrong? Or could you possibly be wrong? Okay. Is there any possibility that you could see it not completely my way, just see it a little, just see it. Right. And if we can both do that, I'm always a person where okay, I have more of a capability to do it than you do. So it's like if I'm talking to somebody else, like, okay, I think I have more of a capability to do it than you do. So let me do it first. I'll do it first, and then I'll see where they're at. If I do it first and then they want to do it, that's where I know I'm like, okay, this has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with, you might need some therapy or something else. Okay. It has nothing to do with anything else. It just, but if I do it and then I see them kind of start opening up, that lets me know right away, like, okay, cool. This person is like, we can have some dialogue. We can talk about some things because you're willing to open your mind just a little bit more. Even if it's just like that much, you're willing to open it up just a little bit more.
Well, and that's the idea. It comes back to what we talked about earlier, the idea of communication and it being a lost art. Like everybody's too busy of listening to respond, not listening to absorb and then possibly respond, because you're, and that's what it seemed like, in the past couple elections was, bop, 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 just a game of, back and forth, and never just, oh shit, you might be right. And that would alleviate a lot of conflict within, the confines of our 50 states, because we've got other shit going on in the world where people hate us already and they don't want to communicate with us, where we need to try and figure out and open up those bridges as well, where we should be able to have this open communication within ourselves. So,
and I think and those are things that you can build. Those are skills. That's not like you don't have to be born with that. Like, those are literal skills that you can build in either therapy, or you can pick up a book and you can literally learn those skills on how to be like that. Like, I always remind people, I was like, dude, it's never too old to keep, you're never that old. Keep learning. You can figure stuff out.
Well, and at the end of the day, the biggest issue that we have, and I want to say this, is that we have to be willing to learn. You have to be open to learning that. But and the problem is nobody wants to do any more than they have to. They want to get there, be done, and that's it. And it's like, well, sometimes you might have to do that little bit extra. Sometimes you might not be able to sleep. Sometimes you might have to work that overtime because it'll come back to you in the end. So, now, do you have any ideas how you want to go or what you want to, start with your podcast? Like what you want to focus on?
I don't know. Like I've thought about, even before the TikTok thing, I thought about starting a podcast. I was going to start it off because I enjoy talking with people. So just what I was going to just do is start off is just bring people on and just talk about anything and everything, whether it be the topic. The topic could be, I don't know, relationship stuff. The topic could be anything. I enjoyed that, just having like a place where we can have conversation. I don't want to have a place. I don't like what I don't want my podcast to be is like a place where people get on, they just start fighting and debating. That I like when I see that on TikTok, I'm like, exit. I can't stand that. Like can't stand that shit. So just like conversation, kind of like how this went, talking about different things, picking people's brains, bringing people. What I also feel like I want to do is, because I talk about many different things. Like I touched on the LGBTQ community plus community, and that's a touchy subject sometimes. What I've learned is like I need to bring someone from the LGBTQ plus or for transgender. I need to bring them to the conversation because I feel like it's a bunch of straight people talking about some shit that they don't exactly live through.
They honestly, they think that they know, but in actuality, they don't even understand. And it again comes that terminology, and being as you'll have somebody who is in that realm to shine light on the situation because they will speak truth to either one side or the other, or even possible both sides. And like you said, you'll have that's almost that Venn diagram situation where you're going to have both your sides where you both think you know something, but then you're going to have the middle where the truth lies. And that's them, to almost as a mediator. And I think you would be great at something like that. Because you said, that's my goal. My show is just to bring anybody and everybody on, talk about whatever, kind of let people know who you are, behind you sitting like this and yelling shit's getting weird. But the idea is, because there's more to people and people want to know that. And there's things again that we all have opinions. They're not all right. Yeah. A lot of them are like assholes and they stink. So it's one of those situations where everybody's entitled to it, but we need to sit down and have the conversation and intake to possibly respond and not just listen to respond.
Exactly.
So I think you would be great at it, man. I think you should definitely pursue it and do it soon. Don't wait around. Jump on the bandwagon. But like I did tell you, don't promote it on TikTok. Use different terminology because it'll kill your views.
I think I'm gonna make another word. I'll make a word for it or something that TikTok doesn't know. Yeah,
just they'll just do cod pasting. Change the C and the P around. But thank you so much for coming on the show, Gio.
Yeah,
I can't thank you enough. It's been a pleasure. Again, everybody, if you don't already do so, please go ahead and follow Giyohnly1 on TikTok and Instagram. If you also do it through there, if you take a second, up above Gio's head is a QR code that will take you to all of his links, including his merch. I see you're drinking out of your Shit's Getting Weird coffee cup.
I am.
So guys, go ahead and pick some of that stuff up. As I mentioned earlier in the show, guys, about the situation going on in Kearney, New Jersey. If you guys feel it's something you want to support and find out more information, go to this URL or scan the lower QR code, and it'll take you to sign that petition. And if you guys haven't already done so, go ahead and follow me on TikTok and Instagram at that.nacho. Thank you again to everybody. I believe me, I've tried every code word. They don't work. So I guess you're going to have to invent a whole brand new word for podcast.
Yeah, there's got to be a way around it. I might even just like wear it on a T-shirt while I'm talking about stuff or something. There's got to be.
Yes.
There's got to be.
This is what I'm doing tonight. but I'm
Yeah.
not going to talk about it.
Hey, I look at like it's a computer. It's not smarter than us humans. We'll figure it out. That's what I always look at. That's what I always think.
Oh, this is the one last question before we go, and I'm going to end up putting up all the information again.
Yeah.
You mentioned a conspiracy theory the other day that you think is taking place.
Uh-huh.
Tell the people what it is and why you feel it's a giant conspiracy theory.
Depends on which one you're talking about, because there's a few. There was a few that I did.
Well,
you want the most recent one?
The Haitian president.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I don't know so much now, but at the time when I made the video, I was looking into, for example, a couple options for like why the Haitian president was killed was the whole vaccine situation, right? Not one person has been vaccinated in that country. The president has promoted other natural ways, avenues, yeah, to fight COVID, and yeah. So I and then now that he's passed away, the United States all of a sudden is shipping vaccines out to Haiti, and I'm just like, okay, okay, like
something doesn't add up here.
That's interesting. So there was that. The Colombia approach. I don't know so much if I rock with the Colombia approach anymore, as far as like them trying to ship drugs through Haiti. I mean, I don't doubt it. I'm sure it's probably been done already, because it's like a pit stop. It's a pit stop to go to Miami, to the United States. There's that approach as well. But now with all everything's developing so fast. It's more. I think it's more now looking likely that the guy in the Haitian American that was living in Miami, he was the one that kind of orchestrated the whole thing, because I think he wanted to overthrow and he wanted to become president of Haiti. That's what it's kind of looking towards, because they're finding out information now that he hired all those Colombians. I'm like, first of all, I'm like, number one, how did you get all that? How did you hire ex-military Colombians from Colombia? Like, they don't live in the U.S. They're from Colombia. Like, how did that happen? So I don't know. It's a weird developing story, but the vaccine thing I still kind of like looking at that. Like, that's extremely weird.
Extremely weird and extremely convenient. That's So I guess let me ask this, and I mentioned this in my last show. So what is, and it doesn't have to be anything recent, what is something that has taken place or that is a conspiracy that you feel is 1,000% true? Like me, I don't believe OJ actually killed Nicole and Ron. I believe it was his oldest son, even though he worked with his son to cover things up. So he was partially responsible, but he is not the one who actually committed the murder. And
I've heard about that approach.
So, and after hearing that and actually like reading it, some of the things I've read, I'm like, well, that kind of makes a lot of sense. Like that almost adds up. But it also could be one of those things where it almost sounds too good to be true. Yeah. What is one conspiracy theory that you 1,000% believe in? You don't have to explain it, but what's one that you just 1,000% believe in?
1,000%. I think COVID came from a lab. 1,000 kajillion billion%. I think COVID came from a lab. I think COVID was created.
It was
1,000%. People want to call it now. It's looking at it's not so much of a conspiracy anymore,
right?
But that's what it was in the beginning. So 1,000%. I think it was created in a lab. But whatever reason they did it, whether it was gain of function research or whatever they did, it was definitely created in a lab.
Right. Somebody 100%. Definitely fucked up. But anyways, yeah. It's that situation where the scene from The Hangover. Yeah, we fucked up. Yeah, that's how it got out. So
yeah, whether it was an accident or on purpose, I don't know. That's what I think.
Nah, yeah, and at this rate, I don't think we'll ever know. But we're finding about aliens, so you never know what we'll find out.
That is true.
Gio, thank you again for coming on the show. Again, everybody, go ahead and give him a follow. You can scan the QR code up at the top or hit him up on TikTok and IG at Giyohnly1. You can also follow myself on TikTok and IG at that.nacho. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell to get the notification that if you're not able to make the live showing 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Wednesday night, that you'll get to see the replay afterwards. And again, if you guys haven't or want to participate and find out more information about the Baby Matthew situation in New Jersey, please go ahead and go here, sign the petition, or scan the bottom QR code. With that in mind, again, Gio, thank you for coming. I greatly appreciate you. We're going to go ahead and sign off, and I wish everybody to stay healthy, stay safe, stay out of trouble, and I will talk to you again soon, and you can say your goodbyes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everybody, for sticking around and listening to us talk about everything we talked about. But I appreciate you again, man, for having me on.
Oh, not a problem. Anytime, and we will see you guys